So it's not as nice as it was the last time I did a camera test, but I'm outside. It's quite windy today, and what I'm going to do today is test the Poco F2 Pro. So I'm going to be testing the front and the back cameras. So the star of the show today will be Isa, that's my mum's dog Isa, and I'll be out today with her. And it's quite windy, but it's a little bit better here. The open road, it's a lot windier, so hopefully the wind isn't too bad. So I'm recording right now 1080p 30 frames per second using the front camera. The front camera's 20 megapixels and it can do 720 or 1080p, and it can do slow motion too, but only at 720p. I think the slow motion is 120 frames per second. Now the thing to note about this front camera is, well, there's no zoom. That's the first thing I'll note about it. There's no zoom, so really what you see is what you get here. There's not really a lot to to say about it as far as features go. There's a few options in here as far as the camera app, as far as, there's a few different video modes and different things, but really with the front camera, 1080p or 720p at 30 frames per second. And there's no stabilisation. I think that's the key thing here. There's no stabilisation options. So yeah, this is it, and this is the default mic. This is what you get. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run. Hopefully Isa will follow me, but I'm going to run just to show you what the stabilisation is like. Here she's coming. Come on Isa, come and say hello to YouTube. She's shy. So now I'm recording with the back camera. This is a quad camera system, and it's got a 64 megapixel wide sensor, 13 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Isa, let's see how she looks in this back camera. Yeah, I think it looks quite good. So I'm still filming at 1080p at 30 frames per second, but the F2 Pro can record in many different modes in the back camera. You've got a lot more flexibility than you do with the selfie camera. You can record at 720p at 30 frames per second, and 1080p and 4K at 30 and 60 frames per second, but there's also an 8K mode that can record at 24 or 30 frames per second. Quite windy here. Now this video will be recorded at 1080p at 30 frames per second, but I'll take some clips at 4K and 8K and I can scale them down. But colours look quite good right now. So the main camera, the back camera, doesn't just have more resolutions and more frame rates. It's also got zoom, something which is missing from the front selfie camera. Now if you use Isa as an example, I'm recording at 0.6 right now, which is one of 3 modes. You can start recording at 0.6, 1 or 2, but at 0.6 I can zoom in to 2 times magnification. But I will say the camera app, the default camera app's a little bit fidgety, as far as it's very easy to zoom in, but when you're zooming back out, it's quite difficult actually. I've found it quite difficult. Like I'm pushing other buttons here and I'm trying to zoom out. There we go. That is very, very annoying. It just doesn't seem intuitive as far as zooming back out. Zooming in seems okay though. So now I'm recording at 1 times magnification, and I can zoom all the way to 6. So that's 6 times magnification. Zoom out. Zooming out seems a little bit easier there. Maybe I've caught it a little bit better. So that's 6. Back to 1. So I've recorded at 0.6 and at 1, but right now I'm recording at 2 times magnification, 2 times zoom, and that's the third option. But you can zoom back to 1 and you can zoom all the way up to 6 again. So really all it's doing is just allowing you to start at 2 rather than starting at regular 1 times magnification. So one of the options you've got for the selfie camera and the main camera is movie frame, and you can see what it's done. It's changed the aspect ratio, and yeah, it's given me this, it looks like a 21:9, I'll need to check this later, but it's given me this kind of movie aspect ratio, adding borders to the top and bottom to me. It's quite interesting. And this is how movie frame looks with the main camera. So all of the clips that you've seen with the back camera so far have had the image stabilization option enabled in the settings area. But this is what it looks like when it's off. So I'll just walk just now, and if I do a little bit of a jog, you can see how that affects it. So image stabilization is back on, and I've just had this enabled at all times really. I've just got it enabled in the settings area. I do think it looks a lot better with it enabled, but I will do a stabilization test, a little bit of a jog. Going to follow me, Isa? There's another cool feature in the main camera that allows you to track a moving object. So I'm going to click on the screen, and it's actually focusing into Isa now, and it will just try and track her. I'll try and follow her. But if I move away, it says I need to stay 3 meters away for the best effect. But it seems to have disappeared there. I need to click on the screen again. Yeah, it does seem to be tracking it as far as, you know, moving the camera around, and it's still focusing on Isa. So I'm now shooting at 4K at 30 frames per second. I could shoot at 60 if I wanted. And all the same options are here. I can select 0.6, 1 or 2 times magnification, and I can zoom in all the way up to 6, and I can zoom back out, back to 1. Image stabilization is still available, so if I run, you can see what it's like with the stabilization on. And now I'm shooting at 8K at 30 frames per second, and I can select 0.6, 1 and 2 again, and I can zoom in. However, I did notice in the settings area there doesn't seem to be any stabilization option, so if I run, it might be a little bit jerky. So I don't know if you just consider this an experimental feature, but I'm sure on a tripod this would look really, really good. Isa. So I'm back in the house now, and Isa is wanting attention, and what I'd like to show you at this point is the short video mode that allows you to record clips for 15 seconds. So one of the options in short video is beauty filters. There's like 8 different shooting modes, one of which is normal, so you've got 7 different modes like sepia and black and white, etc., and it just gives you a different colour range for your videos. Short video also allows you to record at 5 different speeds: super slow, slow, regular, fast and super fast. But I think the one that a lot of people will use is Kaleidoscope. There's 6 different filters where you can use this Kaleidoscope style shooting mode. There's 10 filters for the selfie camera and for the main camera as well. One of those is normal, so I guess you can say there's 9 filters. And this is how the filter looks at the back, and you can zoom in as normal. Isa. And now I'm using the fantasy filter with the back camera, the main camera, and I can zoom in. Look at that. I'm trying to zoom into Isa and she has disappeared. Thanks, Isa. So the camera app has a macro feature so that you can take advantage of that macro lens. So you can see I'm zoomed out just now, but if I get closer, you can see the Amazon Fire Stick remote. Now, I'm really close to this now, but I can zoom in from 1 times to 2 times. And that's really impressive. That is really, really impressive that it can get so close to that. Now obviously my hands are shaky a little bit here, but if you had this on a tripod, this could be very, very useful. Another one of the default shooting modes, in addition to filters, is beauty mode. And it's got a sliding scale that you can put from bottom to top. And I've got it on just now. You can use it with the front selfie camera or the back camera. And I'll be honest guys, I don't think I look any more beautiful. So you've got your regular shooting mode and you've got your beauty mode. And you've got your filters, 10 filters, one of which is normal. But the last option, the third option, or the fourth option really, if you consider the regular shooting mode, the last option is bokeh. And you can see it here. You can see that I'm kind of popping out at the front and there's everything else in the background there is all blurry. And yeah, this is what it looks like. It works in the same way as the beautify or the beauty option, where it's a sliding scale. There's no numbers, it's just low to high. And I've slid it all the way to the top. And obviously if I had to slide it down, it would adjust how blurry it is and how powerful the bokeh effect is being applied. But you can see, let's see if we can get Isa here. Isa, how does it work there? It's still making some things blurry in the background there. And this is how bokeh looks using the main camera at the back. And you can zoom in and you can zoom out. But it does seem to be having difficulty focusing on Isa correctly. You know, it's focusing at the back there and focusing at the front. Hey Isa. See, it's kind of finding it hard to focus in on her there. I don't think it knows what to focus on, but that is the bokeh effect using the main camera. So I'm out again today and it's raining, as you can see, and the normally cool, calm and collected Isa is calming down after seeing a cat. So I've showed you most of the features right now, but what I'd like to quickly do is just show you the bokeh effect outside. Obviously I showed you it in the house, but I want to show you the bokeh effect from this camera, the selfie camera, the back camera, but I also want to show you the steady mode. Steady mode is an option that you've got with the main camera, which I didn't talk about before. So the bokeh mode has returned, and this is it guys. Right, take this leash off, Isa. Let her wander around. You got this. So this is quite a good shot actually, because it can show you how it handles me and Isa in the same shot. Because normally bokeh, obviously it's trying to focus on one person and make the person at the front or the people at the front focused and everything else blurry. But this is what bokeh looks like with the selfie camera. And now Isa is the start of the show again. This is bokeh using the main camera, and it looks a lot better than it did in the house. Still some autofocusing issues there, which I guess is expected because she's not a human being. But yeah, I mean, you can see the effect, you can see everything else in the background there being blurred out. So as I said before, the back camera does have an option in the settings area for image stabilization, and I have generally just been keeping that enabled, but there is also another option for steady video. This is a feature which you have to enable, but just as a reminder, this is what the main camera looks like when you're just jumping around. I'm trying to keep it steady, but I am jogging. So this is just what it looks like in the regular shooting mode with image stabilization enabled. So now steady video is selected and I'm just walking like it was before. Let's see how it copes. Try and run. See if Isa follows me. And that's how it looks with steady video. So I'll just pan here to show you what it looks like. So as you can see, I'm in my car now. I need to go to the shops, and this is a test I like to do for all the smartphones that I review because it helps me see a few things. It helps me see stabilization, it helps me test the microphone, and it just helps me see how the front selfie camera handles driving in a car. Because I do like the idea of not using an action camera in a car, using your phone kind of is easier because it's always in your pocket. So I'm not going to play any music. Switch on the engine. Hopefully you won't hear too many rattling noises. That is something that does sometimes happen. So I'm doing about 30 miles per hour here. I won't be going really quick in this video. I won't be doing like 50 or 60 or 70 or anything like that. I'm just driving to the shops. So road noise shouldn't be too much of an issue, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of rattling coming from the phone grip and the suction cup that I'm using, so hopefully that's okay. But so far I haven't been impressed with the microphones. I will talk about that later, but you know, this is a real test for the default mic, the built-in mic. Of course you can use an external mic, you do have that headphone jack. Now, as far as what you're seeing right now, I'm using the pop-up camera, the selfie camera. Obviously footage would be a lot better if you had, you know, turned it around, but it makes sense to use the selfie camera. This is what most people would use if they were vlogging, and the biggest disappointment here is that there's really no options. This is the range that you get. I'm obviously driving, so I'm in the driver's seat. There's a passenger side here, and this phone and the suction cup are at the other side of the car, so this is the only option I've got. There's no options to zoom, there's no other lens, there's just the single 20 megapixel sensor. So what you see is what you get here. This is all I can do, which I don't mind that too much if the audio is good and the stabilization is good and things like that. So slow down, stop just about, a little bit quieter now. I'll help you see what it's like. I do sometimes like to do a test, you know, it's a little bit noisier, but I can maybe zoom up a little bit here. I'll put the foot down here just so that you can... How noisy is that? I wasn't even going fast there, I was just accelerating. So let me know what you think, guys. Have a think about this and let me know in the comment area. So it's dark now, guys, and I'm recording with the front camera, and there's not really many options for me here. 1080p, 720p at 30 frames per second. There's no zoom, there's no low light option. This is it really. So there's a little bit of lighting above me just now, so you can see some things. When you get to the darker areas, obviously this is where normally most cameras suffer, most phones suffer. But it's actually performing a little bit better than some other phones that I've had, at least from a low light point of view. Certain features such as slow motion and things like that just can't work in low light because they need light to work properly. Yeah, this is what low light is like when you're out at night time. Out here a little bit, you see it's a little bit better here, so we'll stay still for a second. Not too bad actually, considering how dark it is. And this is the back camera. This is the main camera, which obviously shows a lot more light, and this is where I was walking before. And obviously I do have the option to zoom in now, so I can zoom in to 6 at this point. Gets a little bit grainy at that point, but the main camera obviously performs a lot better than the selfie camera. So this is still the main camera, but I'm using the ultra wide lens, so I'm getting 0.6 for magnification. It's the ultra wide angle, and you can see that this sensor, it still performs okay, but it's certainly not as good as the main sensor in this camera. So I'm using the main camera again, but this time I have the steady video option activated, and as you've seen before, this will help me when I'm moving around. I do think that the main camera performs pretty well for a smartphone. You know, it is really dark here. And just a final clip with the front camera, which is maybe a little bit more apparent now that I've shown you what the main camera can do. The front camera really struggles here. in low light. I mean, this is a problem that most phones have today. The front sensor, you know, it's great for selfies during the daytime and things like that, but at night time it's not usually good. I do think though that this performs okay compared to other phones on the market, you know, especially when I'm not moving around. I think that actually looks pretty good. But when it is dark, when I'm not under a light, yeah, it's not the greatest. So I've been using the Poco F2 Pro for a couple of weeks now, and the clips that you saw at the start of the video were actually recorded 7 days ago. 1 week ago I was walking around holding the Poco F2 Pro and taking Isa for a walk and playing around with the default camera app. There are a few features that I've not spoke about that are available in that default camera app, one of which is a short video vlog mode where you take a series of clips and then they put it back together and they swish it together with music. It's not something that I would use myself, but I can see the appeal to kids, etc. There's also a time-lapse feature, and there is, of course, slow motion. Slow motion is available at 120, 240 and a whopping 960 frames per second at 720 or 1080p for all of those modes. And I was really impressed with slow motion. I thought it was really good. I thought, especially in, you know, when you've got a lot of light and you're outside during the daytime, I thought that the slow motion option was really, really cool. So that's a nice feature. Now, you should know by now, I'm not a big photo guy. I don't take a lot of photographs with my phone that are serious photographs. Most of the photos that I take, they're generally for eBay listings, for my YouTube videos, or for silly pictures that I send to friends. But I will say that the photos that I have taken, I have been impressed with them. I thought that the quality of the photos was really impressive, certainly at a flagship level. And I took a couple of photos at night time too, using the night option, and I thought those looked great as well. So I think from a photo point of view, again, I'm not the guy you should look at for, you know, the perspective on taking photographs with the Poco F2 Pro, but the photos that I've taken with it, portrait mode and all that, I thought that it impressed me. I thought it performed really well. So up until now, I've not given you too much information as to how I feel about all of the modes and all of the footage, but I have been looking at this today. So I've actually got the Poco F2 Pro here on a little mini tripod, and you can see that I've been looking at footage and I've been listening to everything and I've been playing around with it. And yeah, I've got it in a tripod so it's a little bit steadier. I've actually got a gimbal here, but you should know that I have not used a tripod until now. I did not use a gimbal in my videos, which is why these clips looked the way they did. And that to me is something that is important to note. You see a lot of reviews of phones and what they can do with video, and what they don't tell you is that they're using a really expensive gimbal to make everything look good, and they're using a really, you know, tripods and all these other accessories. And whilst that is good and whilst it does show the potential of a phone, I don't think that's a realistic idea of what a phone can actually do for most people. Most people, 99% of people, when they use the phone, they use their phone by just taking it out of their pocket and just holding it up and taking a video or taking a photograph. And that's why I did the videos the way that I did. I didn't use any external microphones. I didn't use any other accessories. I just held the phone out and I took the footage. I took the video clips. So, what do I think about the video capabilities of the Poco F2 Pro? I think that overall it's a mixed bag. There's a lot of things I like about it, but there's certainly annoyances and there's certainly things that I didn't like about it. The front camera, which you see now, I think the quality of the front camera, when you're outside, I think it's really good. I think it really is good. I think the quality is really good. And my biggest frustration with it is really just the lack of options. There's only one sensor, so this is what you get. You don't get any kind of macro mode or wide angle mode. You've just got this. This is the angle that you get. So you're kind of limited. If you want to get a wider shot, you just have to hold your phone out. I realise that this is common in a lot of phones, but trying phones with dual selfie cameras and things like that really does spoil you for giving you more options and more versatility. But with this one, there's no image stabilisation. There's no zooming in. With the front camera, this is what you get. I will say though that despite the lack of image stabilisation was an issue in many of the clips, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. If you hold up the Poco F2 Pro, and I've got it in a tripod, but if you're holding up like this and you're just keeping your hand steady, if if you keep it steady, oh, I'm bumping into things here, but if you keep it steady and just kind of pan round, it's not that bad. Stabilisation isn't too much of an issue. The issue is obviously when you're moving around, when you're jumping around. And you saw that in the car. In the car, when I attached the phone to the suction cup thing that I've got for the car, it was really bad. It was unusable. The footage was unusable because there was no stabilisation there. So I don't think that's a big problem for most people. I think the footage that I recorded when walking around was acceptable, certainly for a flagship smartphone in 2020. I think it's okay, but this is certainly not class leading. There's so many phones out there that handle stabilisation better than the Poco F2 Pro. At night time, yeah, I thought video performed okay with the front camera. I mean, this is something that all smartphones struggle with. I thought the front camera at night time, if there was a little bit of light, I thought the footage looked really good. But again, when you start moving around, stabilisation goes, the autofocus goes off, and it just looks terrible. I mean, this is a criticism that I would say level at a lot of smartphones in the market, but I did find that when you were standing still at night time, the footage wasn't that bad. When you started moving around, it looked terrible. But that's the front camera. What about the main cameras? Well, again, the main camera does have zoom, but it's kind of limited in comparison to other flagship phones. You've got 0.6 and 1 and 2, and you can go all the way to 6 times magnification. But, even my older phones can do more than that. Now, that's not a major problem for me per se, because zooming it can be quite useful when taking photographs and certain video shots, but generally speaking, once you get to like 6, 7, 8 times zoom, everything looks a little bit grainy, it looks a little bit blurry, and it just doesn't look good. So for me personally, the lack of those higher zoom levels, it's not a deal breaker, but I can see why people would gravitate towards other phones because that option isn't there. For the most part though, overall I would say that the main camera is excellent, and certainly it stands up really well against other smartphones of this year. There's a few issues there, of course. I mean, you've got 4K and you've got the 8K modes, which I thought they looked okay. 8K was, there's no stabilisation, so it didn't look the best, but 4K was okay. But I've been recording most of the clips at 1080p. I mean, stabilisation there I thought was a lot better than the front camera. There's that setting in the settings area that allows you to just enable image stabilisation, but you've also got steady max mode, and I thought that when you have both of those enabled, I thought the stabilisation with the back camera was excellent. Now, of course, again, it comes down to how you're handling it. I was using my hand and I was like moving around and purposely trying to give it problems, but I think if you're holding it still using a tripod or just staying steady, I think the back camera, the stabilisation is good. The autofocus was generally good. There was some issues when it was in low light or when it was under trees, but generally speaking, I thought that the main camera, the video quality was excellent. I really didn't have any major problems with what it was doing. And again, it's not class leading. That's the thing. I'm not trying to criticise it too much. I think it's excellent. I think it's more than acceptable for a phone, a flagship phone, but it's not perfect either. There was certainly certain situations where I thought that just didn't look well, where there was a little bit of warping with the stabilisation or just something didn't look right. But across the board, I thought that the front camera, the selfie camera, average for a flagship, but acceptable. Not great in low light, but not too bad either. But for the main camera, I thought the video quality was really, really good. And at night time, I thought the video quality was excellent, certainly when compared to other flagship phones. So from a video perspective, the phone's maybe a little bit of a mixed bag. And the reason is not just stabilisation and it's not just the lack of zooming in the front camera. The reason I say it's a mixed bag as well is because of the microphone. So I'm recording with the microphone just now, and I think that if you're in a quiet environment like this, I mean, I've just got my lights and my PC running, but if you're in a quiet environment, then I don't think that the microphone is that bad. But when you're outside, I had a lot of problems with it. It didn't sound great in the car, in my opinion, and I also found that when you were outside, the audio wasn't really optimised for vocals. It was picking up a lot of wind noise, it was picking up a lot of other noise, and it wasn't focusing on vocals as much. So the microphone is average. I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking, and certainly if you're using this to record video, I would use a lavalier mic or an external mic of some kind. Use the provided headphone jack and improve that audio, because the audio, average acceptable kind of level, but it's certainly not groundbreaking. It was one of the disappointments that I realised when I was looking at all of this footage. So it is up to you now, guys. It's up to you now, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm sure this has helped some of you who are thinking about getting the Poco F2 Pro, and you're curious as to what it's like for recording video. Overall, I think the cameras are good. They're great for taking photos. A little bit of a mixed bag for videos, but I'm certainly happy with it. It's certainly acceptable. And what I'm doing right now, like putting this phone on a tripod, I think it really does change the quality of it. You know, if you've got good lighting, if you put this phone on a tripod, you can sit there, talk to your phone like I'm doing just now, and I think the quality is pretty good. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. I'm going to do another video where I look at the user interface and show you the phone and give you what, a better insight as to what this phone is about and what it can do and what it can't do before I do my final review. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Take care.